and members of the public gallery. Welcome to this special council meeting of the Shire of Serpentine Jarrahdale, being held on Monday, the 6th of February 2023 in the council chambers. I declare this meeting open at 7 p.m. and acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional land of the Noongar people, and we pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Also advise members of the public gallery that the meeting is being audio recorded in accordance with council policy. If you are asking a public question or making a statement or deputation to the meeting, this will be audio recorded. Members of the public are reminded that no other visual or audio recording of this meeting by any other means is allowed. Item number 1 is attendances and apologies. We have an apology from Councillor Atwell and Councillor D'Agostino for this evening's meeting. Item number 2 is public question time. 2.1 is public questions. There have been no public questions submitted in writing prior to this meeting, so I will call for public questions from the floor this evening. Are there any public questions from the floor at tonight's meeting? There being no public questions, we'll move on to item 3, which is public statement time. There has been no public statement submitted in writing prior to the meeting. Item number 4 is petitions and deputations. Can I please ask Mr. Henry Dykstra to please come forward and present your deputation for this evening's meeting for item 6.2, proposed amendment to the solar farm, use not listed, to extend the substantial commencements timeframe from the 7th of December 2022 to the 7th of June 2023 at Lot 2 Thomas Road, Lot 1001 Privet Lane and Lot 210 Abernethy Road, Oakford.
Thank you, Madam President and councillors and staff. Thanks for having me here this evening, and also for having this item on this special meeting. It's really appreciated, given some of the critical timeframes that we're on here. Sounds a little bit ironic after all this time, but I'll explain that to you. So the proposal on the agenda regarding the Byford Solar Farm, I'm here on behalf of Westgen, presenting for them, and the proposal is really to extend the substantial commencement date to the 7th of June. Previously it was September. The majority of the conditions pre-construction have been met. We've been working on those conditions over the last 18 months with Westgen. Like engineering drawings for the drainage stormwater management strategy for the whole property, the roads, pavements, sections with the main road, and lots of management plans that were required as well to be prepared, construction management plan, fire management, traffic, etc. Probably only the landscape plan that's left to finalise. We're in final negotiations with Shire officers on that one. So yeah, we're all ready. I just wanted to explain the reason why it delayed was really to do with the land tenure. Western Power didn't want to transfer the land to Westgen until the freight route widening had been taken from the land. That was reasonably late last year that was finalised. There are some, probably just to give you a bit of confidence as to where this project is at. On behalf of Westgen, I just want to outline some of the project milestones that have been achieved and deliverables that are to be achieved. The capital raising for Australian Solar Investments Limited, that's the fund that will build and own the Byford Solar Farm project, that is nearing completion, with a global investment group on track to get final investment committee approval this week. So it's quite an exciting week for Westgen. And once finalised, that fund will provide the initial capital to get the project pre-construction happening. So that's all the works that meet the requirement of substantial commencement, and that would be achieved in May this year. There's extensive design collaboration underway right now regarding the distribution grid connection and the cable route. And in terms of the cable route design, yeah, we're nearly there. The alignment's been agreed by 4 agencies, and it's just a more matter of construction management plans surrounding that 7 kilometre route. The investor purchases of the Vivid Solar project, that's set for mid-March, and then project completion for the 3rd quarter of 2024. But look, that's just some of the milestones that have been and that are being achieved. Westgen wanted me to pass on to you that they have to date invested about $4 million in the project, and that includes land options, detailed network studies by Western Power, legal costs. There's been commercial modelling, solar modelling, and then all the engineering and design work. In light of that considerable investment that they've made, the client's got no intention of letting this project delay any further than is absolutely necessary. So with that, I'd like to, thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'm happy to answer any questions either now or at the discussion time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dykstra. Item 5 is declaration of councillors and officers' interest. Shire President, Councillor Michelle Rich, declared a financial interest in item 6.1, award request for tender RFT 11/2022, Mundijong Road, pavement construction. The nature of the interest is a number of tenderers are clients of my family's business. The extent of the interest is a fee for service. I will leave the chamber while the item is being discussed. Councillor Michael D'Agostino declared a proximity interest in item 6.2, proposed amendment to solar farm, use not listed, to extend the substantial commencement timeframe from the 7th of December 2022 to the 7th of June 2023 at lot 200 Thomas Road, lot 1001 Privet Lane, and lot 210 Abernathy Road, Oakford. The nature of the interest is a proximity interest. The extent of the interest is neighbouring property interest. Councillor D'Agostino will leave the chambers while this item is discussed. Item 6 is receipt of reports. I will leave the room as I have a financial interest in item 6.1. I will hand over to the CEO as I depart. Thank you.
Councillors, section 5.26 of the Act says that if the Shire President or Deputy Shire President is not available to conduct a meeting or an item at the meeting, that the councillors are to choose amongst yourselves who will preside over that item. There's no regulations or guidelines about how that is done in any of the guides or regulations or anything, so it's entirely up to the council how it wishes to do that. My suggestion would be that someone is nominated by a councillor and a motion is moved and seconded, and the council then considers that motion and until they appoint someone to preside over this item. That would be my suggestion. I'll leave it open to you. There are other options as well, but that's probably the most cleanest suggestion. If somebody would like to nominate somebody and move a motion to that effect.
Mr. Martin, if I could nominate Councillor Strange, please.
Councillor Strange, are you happy to accept the nomination? No?
Certainly. Thanks for the opportunity to actually say some really nice words about you, Councillor Strange. I think that you've done an exceptional job at the Audit, Risk and Governance Committee meetings, and I think that you also did a very good job the other day. So that is why I feel that you'd be exceptional at the position. Thank you.
How can I refuse after that?
So, councillors, you just need to vote on that, I suggest. All those in favour of Councillor Strange, the motion for Councillor Strange, those against, Councillor Strange.
Item 6.1, award request for tender RFT 1122 Mundajong Road pavement reconstruction. Can I have someone to move the motion? Thank you, councillor Coles. Can I have someone to second the motion? Thank you, councillor Duggan.
Madam Presiding Member, I will just point out to the councillors that there was just a minor typographical error in the numbering on the appendix of the confidential attachment. Doesn't change any of the wording. We'll just tidy that up with the minutes if the council's happy with that.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Is there anyone opposed to the motion? Motion is carried unanimously. Madam President, the item was carried unanimously.
Thank you, councillor Strange. Item 6.2, proposed amendment to solar farm use not listed to extend the substantial commencement timeframe from the 7th of December 2022 to the 7th of June 2023 at lot 200 Thomas Road, lot 1001 Privet Lane and lot 210 Abernethy Road, Oakford. Can I please have a mover for the motion?
Madam President, I would like to propose an alternative motion. I've sent through to the officers. I'm sorry, it went through a bit late.
Councillor Storms?
Thank you, Madam President. Is it possible to bring it up? There it is there on the screen. I'll need to read it from the screen. It's probably easier than reading from my mobile phone. I again apologise, my laptop's been down, so that's why I've submitted it late, and it's probably got some joined up words in the what we're seeing on the screen. That alternative motion being that council resolves the following responsible authority recommendation that the Metro Outer Joint Development Assessment Panel resolves to accept the DAP application DAP 1610-167 as detailed on the DAP Form 2 dated 19th December 2022 is appropriate for consideration in accordance with the regulations 17 of the Planning and Development Assessment Panels Regulations 2011. Point 2, refuses DAP application DAP 1610-67 for the following reasons. Please scroll down, if you can. I can read it from here. With the passing of time, the development is considered to be contrary to the current planning framework for the land and locality, which has advanced since first approval of the application. That's point A. Point B, the development is considered to represent an incompatible development form that does not reflect the reasonable level of rural amenity that should be afforded by the rural zone. C, the solar farm project was approved with the understanding it would not have detrimental effect on residents. That is a legal responsibility of all councils. Continuation C, it is expected the applicant has high regard to profitability and the size of such corporate partnership facilitates a more powerful bargaining position that may have resulted some advantage over Shire residents. It is expected the applicant chose this location based on market analysis that included competing with residential rooftop solar. Also, it is expected the applicant has sought contractual arrangements that seek to optimise profitability. The Shire is a third party not privy to the details of commercial contractual relationships yet is required to decide if such a project is not detrimental to the welfare of residents. Therefore, the Shire needs to receive formal assurances this project will not have unfair advantage over residents when it comes to supplying solar generated electricity. For example, the Shire needs to know if this project will undermine residential feed-in tariff rebate or the hours such a rebate is applied. When too many residents with rooftop solar oversupply, then that is fair competition. However, when a corporate partnership seeks to deliver industrial-sized solar energy supply as large or larger than the total amount of houses in the Shire, then that is not fair competition. The Shire cannot endorse such a project when there are too many unknowns, as endorsement via approving a project time extension could involve disenfranchisement of every Shire resident with and without rooftop solar panels. Therefore, in relation to planning assessment, this project no longer satisfies requirement 2, that being whether the project remains capable of approval.
Thank you, councillor Strawtons. Do we have a seconder for councillor Strawton's alternate motion that he has put forward?
Sorry, Madam President, if I can I ask some questions?
Councillor Coles, are you seconding the
No, I just
motion?
want to ask some questions if I can.
Questions? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I think I understand the intent behind the alternate motion, but is it possible just to get some comments from the experts in the room, namely the Director of Development Services, and maybe also the Acting Director of Corporate Services in terms of the legality of what the proposed alternate motion speaks to?
Director, do you have any comments that you can share, please, in regards to the alternate motion?
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for the question. I guess in making a lawful planning decision, we have to only consider what we term relevant planning matters or relevant planning considerations. My professional opinion would be the issue of feed-in tariffs and who benefits from feed-in tariffs sits wholly outside of the planning framework. That's for a separate arm of government to determine and wouldn't be a relevant consideration to have in respect of this application. This application is dealing with a very specific request regarding a question of substantial commencement and increasing the time in which to commence substantial commencement of the development. So my opinion would be that it wouldn't be relevant to be considering the feed-in tariff and treatment of that into the future.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Coles, you also would like to hear from the Acting Director of Corporate Services?
Thank you, Madam President. If that's possible, I think the Director of Development Services has given a good answer. So whether the Director wants to add to it or not, he may not need to.
No, I've nothing to add to the councillor, to be honest.
Thank you.
Madam President, just a point of clarification with the Director, would point A and B be considered planning matters, planning reasons? Is point C the issue? I'm just trying to get some clarification whether, in fact, point A and B might be planning matters and reasons to refuse it. Maybe point C is not.
Yes, thank you, CEO. That's my understanding. Option 2, from what I can see, contains part A and B of the alternative recommendation. Principally, part C was where sort of clarification was coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. I'll call once again for a seconder for the alternate motion we have before us.
Sorry, Madam President, I'm not prepared to second it per se, but I wonder if I understand the intent behind the council's alternate, and I'm happy to support part of it. So I'm just wondering whether if it's appropriate just to suspend standing orders when we work with the officers and the mover, so we can have a alternate motion that achieves what the councillor wants, but is more of a I don't want to say a better legal proposition, but a better motion that allays the concerns, but doesn't go outside of our quasi-judicial powers as councillors, if that's possible.
So councillor Coles, are you moving to suspend standing orders?
Yes.
Thank you. Can I please have a seconder? Thank you, councillor Strange. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you. Motion is carried 6-1. Councillor Coles?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for allowing this. So I too have some concerns as raised, but I guess I don't want to support a motion that we've heard from the director that may not be appropriate for planning considerations, so tariffs and the like. So I think if the mover of the motion was happy to talk to what he's trying to achieve without the tariffs and the commercial parts of the motion, then I'd be prepared to second it potentially.
Thank you, Madam President. Through the chair. What I'm seeking to address is that we may well have a solar farm that is acceptable on the rural area. However, the size of this solar farm is rather industrial, an industrial size that has greater impact as a result, has greater impact on the visual amenity of for the neighbours and all those passing by, as well as the output from this solar farm. With the passing of time since 2016, there absolutely are contractual arrangements and possibilities that have changed that we may not be able to have legally addressed at the stage we're at right now. And through my consultation with the Director of Planning, I understand that the project must have a reliance on the Shire, but as I pointed back, there is a two-way street. If the situation, the contractual arrangements that the applicant has had have changed over time since this was approved, and those contractual arrangements could be to the detriment of our local residents, then I think it needs to be addressed.
Thanks, Madam President. I'm just wondering, to cut to the chase, whether we leave option 2 as per the agenda with A being that we insert a C with something along the lines of due to the size and nature of the proposal, which may capture everything that I think the move is trying to say. And I know we're not in debate, we're in we've cancelled or suspended standing orders, but that would be my suggestion. If the move was happy with that, I'd second it.
Yes, it's the economies of scale here that I think is going to cause distortion in our Shire. It's too large and it has too big an impact in so many ways. So yes, I'm happy to abbreviate it, especially now that I've had the chance to provide the backstory in a sense of why I think this is such an issue. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. So what amendments would you like to make to the alternate motion as it stands?
Thank you, Madam President. We could cut all out in point C and change point C to be that the industrial size of this project is no longer compatible with the objectives of the Shire, with the help of. Go on, councillor
So-
Cole, please.
I was going to keep it short and sweet. So paragraph C or sub paragraph C would be the size and nature of the proposal.
I'm happy with that. If it sits better with others. Size and nature of the proposal. Full stop there.
Thank you, councillors. Is that the only change you wish to make? Are you happy to return to standing orders?
Yes.
Councillor Strawtons, are you happy to move? Thank you. I have a seconder to return to standing orders. Thank you, councillor Coles. All those in favour? 2, 3. That's it. Thank you. Motion is carried unanimously. Right, councillors, we have.
Madam President, just for the noting in the meeting. So councillor Stratton, you have changed point C from what it was before to now be the size and nature of the proposal. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. We have councillor Strawtons that has moved the alternate now amended motion. Councillor Coles, are you happy to second that motion?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes.
Thank you. Is there anybody opposed to this motion? Thank you, councillor Strange. Councillor Strawtons, can you please open debate?
Thank you, Madam President. We have a growing Shire and absolutely it attracts certain organisations, businesses that would like to capitalise on that. This project, no doubt, has done their research. No doubt they know how many residential rooftop solar providers there are at the moment in the Shire and what opportunity there is for them to gain market share. The size of this project is of great concern, as they've clearly stated, 30,000 houses, which we don't have that many in the Shire. So therefore, what happens to all the investment that all the residents have already placed in their solar panels? The reason I've brought this now is because with the passing of time, market conditions have changed. Those market conditions being that when there is oversupply, people no longer receive the same feed-in tariff rebate as they did before there was oversupply, or the hours of feed-in get cut off. Now, as a Shire councillor, I'm here to represent the residents. I cannot consciously approve an extension to such a project that can undermine every resident that has solar power, rooftop solar, or would aspire to have rooftop solar. It's not only a quantitative measurement of economic investment they've made, but for many people, it's the well-being they gain from contributing to decreasing carbon generated electricity. And so for many people, it's not necessarily an economic equation. It's the comfort they gain from that and having that freedom to uptake or to put on solar in the future if they don't have it now. Now, this size project that is clearly stated they're going to feed into the Byford substation is clearly going to overwhelm the electricity generation from solar power in our Shire. Now, we don't know as councillors if they're going to be the ones going to be last cut off if there's an oversupply and all the residents get cut off first. We don't know that. And you would think that an applicant would seek to guarantee that they're not first cut off if at any chance they would get in such a negotiation. They're a large corporate organisation with good bargaining power, far better bargaining power than our individual residents. So it's guaranteed pretty much without them disclosing. I mean, if they can disclose and say it's not guaranteed, it's pretty much guaranteed they're going to have favourable connection to the grid at the detriment of our residents. So I don't see it as a rural pursuit. I don't see, for these reasons, I don't see it as something that's contributing to our shire. I see it as something that is coming to take advantage of our shire, to take advantage of our residents. So for those reasons, no way known could I support this extension. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor D'Agostino. Councillor Coles, would you like to speak or reserve?
Thanks, Madam President. Just, I want to make a couple of points. One is,
Just a point of order, if I could. Madam President, sorry, it's Councillor Stroughton's, not Councillor D'Agostino, that just spoke.
Sorry, councillor Stroughton's. Councillor Coles?
thanks, Madam President. I'll be fairly brief. The concern I have is just the time, and there is certainly a councillor who's not here that is always particularly vocal about retrospective approvals. And I know this isn't a retrospective approval, but I guess it's counts from the same or comes from the same guise in terms of 2016, this was first approved and nothing has progressed overtly. I understand, and notwithstanding the deputation that was made, obviously stuff has been going on in the background. And it may well be that some of those things in the background has been out of the control of the proponent. But the key point I think that's been made is we need to represent the community, and there are some concerns by the neighbour. The neighbour has raised the size as a concern. The neighbour has mentioned in an email to councillors this evening that, you know, quite simply, and I'll quote the resident, where he says, please consider those impacted by the project and the impact this has had on us for many years, and say no to a further extension of time. So that's basically my argument. I'm not going to talk about the commercial viability of this project. So I dare say that WestGen wouldn't continue with this project unless it was in some respect financially viable for them. But at the end of the day, I think that's, whilst that needs to be considered, the first job I have as a council is represent the community. And when I have a neighbour who is concerned about the size of this application, and I can only imagine and empathise with the resident that this has been going on since 2016. I think there's only one councillor at the table tonight that was here back in 2016. So whilst we inherit decisions made by previous councils, we have an opportunity tonight to pass on to or make a comment to the responsible authority report and saying that we don't support it. And the reason we don't support it is we've listened to the community, and enough's enough. Time has expired. And whilst it was only expired by December, it's only a couple of months, I find it interesting that we look at the agenda and there's a traffic light system, and of those things that have been completed, there's a lot of things that haven't been completed, and I'm not going to go through each one, but suffice to say there are 28 conditions, and of those 28 conditions, there are numerous there that haven't been commenced, and of those, some are only partially completed. And when we hear the deputation tonight that the landscape plan is still outstanding, that gives me some concerns about the, I was going to say validity, but that's not the right term. Some concerns about whether this project will actually get done with the 6-month extension that's asked. So I support the alternate motion.
Thank you, councillor Coles. Councillor Strange?
Thank you, Madam President. As Councillor Coles pointed out earlier, in determining planning applications, we are performing a quasi-judicial function, which requires us to act in accordance with our planning framework and reference relevant planning matters to be considered. We've heard tonight that our planning director is not of the view that the primary reason given by Councillor Stroughton's is a relevant planning consideration, and therefore I have grave concerns about proceeding with the motion as it stands before us. In terms of the other reasons of refusal provided, they are adequately addressed in the officer's report. And again, in performing that quasi-judicial function, we rely on the technical expertise of our officers and they have provided us with what I consider a logical and defensible position. I will leave it at that and just reiterate that we are to consider relevant planning matters, and I don't consider that the primary reason given by Councillor Strawtons is a planning consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Strange. Is there anybody else that would like to speak for the motion? Councillor Strawtons, would you like to close, please?
Thank you, Madam President. In reply to Councillor Strange, absolutely. I also heard that the Director of Planning had reservations with regards to point C. That's why we suspended standing orders to discuss it, and that's why it's a substantial part of the wording that I had previously placed has been removed. What remains does uphold the authority of the Director of Planning. This is pretty much the text that the officers had provided as an alternative, not an alternative motion, as option 2. So it has been considered by them. So the quasi-judicial position of the Shire is upheld and does not go against that. And I've certainly sought to adhere to that by including it right from the start. So therefore, I would say that this council does have a right. We don't have to, we're not obliged to rubber stamp a project and encourage other projects to go over time. We need to make sure that applicants are aware they do have a time restriction and it's there for a reason. It's not something that they can just come back and because they've gone so far with something that they can expect to get a time extension. With the passing of time, things have changed. They may not all be within the planning framework, and it's almost impossible to have all the things that change be within our quasi-judicial authority. So we must look at what we can legally include as an objection, and that has been done. All the other reasons that I've put forward, which I think are valid reasons, but okay, they're outside what we're dealing with right now when it comes to JDAP, MODAP. But what remains, the motion that's here before you has been 99% drafted by our staff to adhere to the requirements placed upon us, but it was not our requirement to then proceed to just rubber stamp and approve extensions for projects whenever they come to council. We must stand up and represent our residents to the best of their interests. There have been plenty of them that have had objections to this project. Now's the time. This project, the applicants have known there's been objection to this, yet they've dragged their feet. So now it's our turn to stand up and say, you had your chance, you've missed your chance, be thankful for the chance you've had, but now the residents get priority. So I'll put this to a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Strawtons. All those in favour of the motion before us? All those against? Councillor Duggan, I can't see your hand. Thank you. Motion is lost 2-5. I will move the officer's recommendation for this item now that this alternate has been lost. Can I please have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Strange. Is there anybody opposed to this motion? Thank you, Councillor Strawtons. In opening the debate for this item, I will be quick. This item has been on the table for many years. I am the only councillor that was originally here when this item first came to council. There has been a lot of work done in the background for this development, and there has been a lot of hurdles put in the way of the applicant in reaching their end goal. The latest one, not so much being a hurdle, but just a time constraint on waiting for the state government agencies to sort out corridors for the freight link for Westport. As Councillor Coles mentioned in his debate earlier, there has been a number of conditions put on this project. There is 28 that are listed in the agenda. Of that 28, 16 of them have been completed. There is another 4 that are partially completed. So I wouldn't say that this proponent has sat back and done nothing. They have been working quite hard in the background to get this project to a point where it can start construction. This item that we have before us is not for us to reassess the whole project and the approval that this applicant has already received through council and through what was then JDAP, which is now MODAP. This is simply to give an extension of time to allow that construction phase to start with a proper approval in place. So I'm happy to support on those grounds. Councillor Strange, would you like to speak or reserve?
Just a brief word. Thank you, Madam President. I would agree and concur with everything that you have stated then. And I would also just clarify that whilst I acknowledge the primary reason Councillor Stroughton's gave for refusal was removed, it still formed the basis of his debate, hence my disagreement. Thanks, Madam President.
Thank you, Councillor Strange. Councillor Stroughton, would you like to speak, please?
Thank you, Madam President. Look, all I'd like to say, I've pretty well articulated, I think, the best of my ability, my objection to this project as it sits. I would just like to say that, had I better understanding of the constraints to work within, I'm sure I could have formulated a better alternative motion. So that's my shortcoming that I need to keep working on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stroughton. Any councillors like to speak for the motion? I don't have anything to add for the closing for this item, so I'm happy to take it straight to the vote. All those in favour of this motion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. All those against? Motion is carried 5-2. Thank you, councillors.
Sorry, Madam President, I would ask just housekeeping that the votes are recorded. Thank you.
Minute Secretary, can we please have the votes recorded? Thank you. Thank you, Minute Secretary. Item number 7 is motions of which notice has been given, which is nil. Item 8 is urgent business, of which there is nil, which brings us to item 9, closure. I declare this meeting closed at 7:44 p.m. Thank you, councillors and officers, for your attendance. Thank you to the public gallery for your attendance tonight, and please have a safe journey home.